Have you ever had to battle depression or anxiety? Or had to battle the trauma of being emotionally or physically abused? Do you know what it is to be treated less just because of the color of your skin? Whether it's physical, emotional, or spiritual. These battles are exhausting and require your all. My next guest has faced giants in battles that no one person ever should, but is here today to declare that the bigger the giant, the bigger the victory. Welcome to this segment of Contagious Courage with Vianne King. Oh, Ethan, I'm so excited to have you here in studio. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
We're talking today about victories and battles and fighting giants and all these things and how there's victories on the other side. You are experiencing some pretty good victories in your life. I've seen some of your posts and there's some really great things happening in your life. But you have faced and overcome some major obstacles. I would like for you to take us back to sharing some of the battles that you fought just to be here.
There's many, I guess. I guess the biggest one for any of you that know my face know that I was abused for the better part of 10 years, from 5 to 15, and it really molded and shaped me into the angry human being I was. And the issue with healing is that it becomes something that you think has to happen instantaneously. My abuse lasted a decade. Why would I heal in a day?
Yeah.
But it's hard because you're so used to hurt. You're so used to the pain and the ugliness, and as a man, it's shame. Like, shame is the biggest killer of men I know of, and you can go through a beast eater. Now, shame kills more men than anything else on this planet. I am convinced of it, and I know it because I live there. I live in and even to this day, I still do. It's what brings up feelings of inadequacy and frustration. But as I coped, I turned to violence first. I started acting out because I've been this big since I was 10. People used to walk all over me because I was a pushover. I was dealing with stuff they didn't know about, and I just let it happen until one day I had enough. And someone found out the hard way that I'd had enough. And then I realized, oh, I can hurt other people and not be walked all over? Okay, well, this is how it's going to be. And that is how it was. I started getting into altercations with people all the time at about 13. I was put into cadets for an extracurricular, something hopefully with some structure to help, wean me out. And it didn't go so well because I didn't like being told what to do. I really didn't like being told what to do by other men that were older than me. And I have a clear and demonstrative issue with authority, if you guys know who I am. So that didn't go very well for them. And then they sent me away for 6 weeks to camp to learn how to play the marching snare and be on a military base. So no parents, no fear, no nothing. And I was just getting into fights like daily. I became the protector at these camps, and people that had problems, people were getting bullied. I stopped just hurting everybody. I started hurting people that deserved to be hurt in my eyes. And it took 2 years, 2 camps. This is someone that was there, one of the sergeants was there both years, and she kind of realized something was going on. And I remember a kid from my own, like my home unit, picked a fight with me, and then he picked a fight with my younger brother. And they're like, pick a fight with me all you want, but if you start calling my brother the N-word, chances are you're going to get hurt. And that's what happened. I hurt him. And then he tried to hurt me, and then I tried to hurt him. And it got so bad that the military police got involved, and the whole big ordeal happened. We were separated. Our units got split up because they couldn't send us home. And then one of the sergeants finally pulled me aside and like, what is going on? And apparently my entire spiritual system was waiting for somebody to ask. And that was all it took. And I just let everything that I had been going through out. I just said, I'm being abused, I think. I don't know. But this relationship that I have with my father is not a relationship that a son's supposed to have. That's why I don't think. I don't know. She was obligated to tell an officer who was actually in the army and so far and so forth. And that was how they found out that I was being abused. And that was how I found out my brother was being abused. And yeah, and basically once Lenny went to jail, then I realized that I had no fear anymore. I didn't fear the beatings. I didn't fear anything. So I ran away. I didn't want to. My mom was left at home with two teenagers, one who was already struggling, and in her own right, she was struggling. But at the time, I didn't care. She was the enemy, the same as Lenny was. So I just started taking off. I'd take off for a month or two at a time, and I would just go do all the drugs that I could find, beat up all the people I could find, and made a name for myself as just as Big Black Ethan.
So I wanted to actually talk about, because you're still dealing with these demons, right? Like there's still things happening, and you did revert to violence and drugs. Like when did you come to the point of saying like something's got to give? You reached a point where I'm not afraid of anybody. I know that you're a man of faith. So could you talk me through how you found that and how does that impact how you cope now?
I think that, I found faith. I've been in the church since I was born. I just have always been around the church, but it's always been my parents' faith. And when you go through abuse for so long, your body does things, your brain does things like blocking out. Like I said, like I had a hard time speaking because I didn't remember my first, real racial experience until after I put Lenny away, because I blocked so much of my childhood out as a defense mechanism that a lot of that stuff is kind of clouded. So what goes with that? My parents' faith. And I'm convinced to this day that had my mom not been praying for me the entire time I ran away and been fighting to the way she could to try to keep me alive, I wouldn't be here today. And that has always kind of stuck with me, no matter the problems that I have with my mom. And without her praying, I know that I wouldn't have come back to faith on my own. My first experience playing at a youth group, I realized that was my kind of my in to connecting with God. I didn't want to connect with God anywhere else, but when I was leading worship or singing worship, that was my time to spend with Him. And that kind of always stuck, even through the shit. It was always there. And then later on, I would guess into my 20s, it became like why I wanted to be in church. I wanted to use something that I felt called to do. And music kind of saved my life. On March 23rd, 2019, I lost my fight with depression. On March 23rd, 2019, I reached a place in my own head where I was certain this world would be better off without me. 30 stitches, 3 cuts, 1 man's life. This video is for those of you who are knocking on that door right now. I want you to keep living, and I want you to keep fighting for you. You deserve to be here. You are worthy enough to be here. And as God is my witness, I'm going to keep fighting. I love you guys.
Wow, I know that there are people watching that are being drawn to the set right now and being encouraged by your bravery, and also like their heart is breaking because of all that you've been through. And and when you hear the stories of what you've been through, and we've only just scratched the surface, I'm sure. I want to ask you this. Do you think that you would be the man you are today without this pain journey?
No. I get that question. That's like the first question I get asked, or I get asked, how can you? And I said, I know that my victory lies in turning this ugly shit into something for good. And I didn't really realize how much of an impact it was going to have, because I wanted to forget it. Anybody that's suffered any sort of abuse knows what I'm talking about, or any sort of hurt, any heartache. They just want to forget it. And it was the understanding 2 years ago that somebody needed to hear my story. I still wasn't really like in the no, this is for good. It was just someone's struggling, and if I'm gonna survive this ugly part of my life, someone else should hear my story. Maybe they won't give up because I want to die every day right now. And then something in me said just start typing. And I started right off the start to realize like this is God led. This is him using my story and using my ability to speak out and have courage, and he's obviously going to give me more. And it grew, and I've been able to get stronger and better at it. But it wasn't until about 18 months into it where I was reading my Bible one night and came across a verse, and I think it's Genesis 50:20, and it says, "What you intended to harm me with, God is turning it for the use of saving the many lives." And I just like instant tears and was like, "That's it. I'm not stopping. I refuse to quit because my story is going to help change somebody's life. And if it's one person and I never hear about them, I win." I pray every day that God uses my story and it's not me using my story, because those are two very different things. And so understanding that it was going to help people because of who went through it was really important to me. At 15 years old, I distinctly remember having a conversation with one of my friends at the time named Christine, and she heard about my story and just asked like, how are you surviving that? I couldn't survive that. I can barely survive. And it was something to do with, if I'm getting it right, a bad breakup. And right then the word just came out of me. I said, I was built for this. I didn't know I was saying, I'm built for surviving this so that over here I can do the work that is going to build God's kingdom and save lives. I didn't know that then.
No one likes a pain journey, right?
No, it wasn't that much fun.
No one likes the pain journey, but that is the beauty. It's awful and never should happen,
No.
right? The scripture that I love, the scripture that you use, that what the enemy meant for evil, God will always turn into good if we allow him. And that is no easy feat. We have to let go of our pride. We have to let go of just allowing ourselves to let go of the shame, the anger.
It's just such a crazy killer. And I've said it more as I've grown in my own walk, is like everything, especially for men, like ladies that are listening, I'm a mental health advocate, but I'm a man who had to deal with thoughts of being gay, who had to deal with not learning how to be a man the right way. So when I speak about as a man, like, it's because men's mental health is what is important to me, because I am one. I can't speak to what women go through directly, but I can speak to mental health as a whole, and I can directly speak to what I'm speaking to. So no matter what you're struggling with, it's shame. If you have a pornography addiction, if you are a sex addict, if you have a drug addiction, if you have an addiction of any kind, you don't chalk it up to just the addictions themselves. At the root of that feeling, at the root of those addictions is shame. Because you always go back to what you know to cover the shame, but immediately after, whatever is over, it's shame. And that's the cycle. And it's, I can't talk about it. But I need my fix, but I can't talk about it. But I need my fix, but I can't talk about it. And eventually this just gets so big that you never really make it out of here. And it just keeps going. And it just keeps going down. And it's the number one killer. But until the stigma of shame is beaten, we're going to keep dying. And people are going to keep wondering why. And it's going to be because we didn't address shame. We address these things as, ew, it's gross, it's whatever. No, it's shame. It's something that every human being knows what it feels like. Men just experience it more because the bar is here to be a man. But there's a gap in learning how to be one.
I want to address something. You said when you're coming through it, when you come out of it. I want to talk about when you start to receive the blessings of being able to turn that pain into power.
Mm-hmm.
So when Jesse introduced you at the rally, at the Black Lives Matter, and he said that you literally like were the reason that you spoke his heart. Mm-hmm. You gave him the strength. You're giving other people the strength and courage to go on. What does words like that even mean? Like, what were you feeling when you were hearing that?
I don't know if you guys can tell, but every time she gives me a compliment, I just, because
right?
I don't know how to take them. And I never have. And that, again, it goes back to abuse and everything else. I don't take compliments well. it's the number one fight that I'm fighting right now. It's, do I deserve to have this place to be spoken from? Do I feel worthy enough to have people listen to me? When he said that, it's quite, it was the first time that I was validated by somebody that isn't directly linked to my circle. Like, I realized right then that my voice was able to affect somebody that I greatly respect to make something happen that I get to be a part of, and is causing a lot of conversation that we need to happen. But in that moment, it was God saying, like, this is what I called you to do. Did the grace and the power of having a voice that I've been blessed with.
Right. And then you also then have to stop listening to that voice that says, who do you think you are? Mm-hmm. You know, like, yeah. And so I am so proud of you and so honored that you let me share your story today. Ethan, you said one time, it turns out my life had way more value and potential than I could ever dream of in those dark days of my life. There are people watching. Mm-hmm. There are people watching. There are Ethans. There are Viens watching that haven't figured out yet how to get out of where they're at. Maybe they're still struggling. They're in those battles, mm-hmm. and it's exhausting, and they don't know how to get through. What encouragement would you want to speak to someone that is going in and through that right now?
The biggest encouragement is that you're not alone. You don't have to be alone. You are worth something. You are still loved and cared for. And it may not feel like it. You may feel shame. You may feel gross. You may just, I know that feeling. I have lived it. I still do. But you're not alone.
But here's the thing. I believe that we have a common goal, and that is to be the change, be Jesus with skin on to people that don't see it that way.
My call is to love people like God loves me. And if they see that love goes through me and then ask, why am I still fit? Do I still have faith? Mm-hmm. My opportunity to tell them that I know that God is love and that's all I'm called to be. If that takes people a step closer to building the kingdom, then I'm winning. The God that I know didn't call prim, proper, perfect people. He called people that couldn't even speak. Yep. He called the downtrodden. He called the beat up. He made sure that those people's stories were heard because they were the stories that were going to build the kingdom.
I think until we're ready to love people where they're at, it's not up to me to change you. And I'm not loving you with the intention that you're now going to change. It's I'm loving you because that is it, period.
Yeah, that's it.
I want to try to get to the end of this today because I know we could talk for another 3 hours. But I hope that people understand what we're trying to do today. Mm-hmm. Because I want them to really understand what it is going to cost and what it's going to take to fight against injustice. That will help us to see what it's going to take to fight the victory and win the victory over injustice, the victory over addictions, mm-hmm. the victory over fear and shame. There's one common thread, and I want you to leave that challenge with us today.
What it takes is energy. It takes effort. It takes strength and courage. Well, I'm not that courageous. Pray for it. You'd be surprised. You might be as aggressive as I am in how you speak, but that doesn't mean you don't have a voice. But you have to prepare for it to get ugly. You are going to get pushback from people inside your circle that you did not see it coming from. This is war. Mm-hmm. This is war. We have literally picked a fight with the devil himself. That dude has controlled mental health since the beginning of time.
Yes.
That guy has controlled all evil things since the beginning. You are waging war when you stand with people like me. Yeah. Whether it's against racism or mental health, suicide, you have decided to take up a fight that has not been won in 2,000 years. Yes. Understand it as that. This is a fight to the bitter end, and it is not going to be easy. He will not go quietly. Yes. He is going to attack you where it hurts the most, but that's all it is. It's just an attack. Our God, my God, is bigger, better, stronger. Yes. I'm tired of seeing people that look like me, that have stories like me, that exist like me, not making it because the lies won. Yeah.
Yes.
That is it. The challenge is to understand that this is a war. Yes. And yes, I'm calling you. Whether you're 100 years old or 10 years old, You are in this fight because you exist in this world with me. You exist in this world with Vian. At the end of the day, if I die without changing this world, that's on me because the opportunities have been given to me to stand up the same way they've been given to you. Enough, they'll do it. No, you do it. Small conversations have big weight. Small conversations when you see wrongs matter because unchecked, they build into something bigger and more evil. Your challenge is to see this as the fight that it is and prepare yourself for the fight that I've been in for 29 years, whether I wanted to be in it or not.
Wow, Ethan, that was definitely calling this out. And there's still a major war to be fought.
Yeah.
And there's a quote out, I'm not sure who said it, but they said, no victory is ever won without a war.
Mm-hmm.
And we are in this, we want to see a victory in this.
Yeah.
But it's going to take
small victories.
Everyone, little victories.
Everywhere.
Like, oh, the people who think that they're crazy enough to change the world, they often do. And I think that we will change the world one victory at a time. And I've got so much inside me. I'm so excited for you. My heart is broken for you, but also I'm excited.
I'm there. I understand. I'm there
excited in a little way. I know that there's a lot of battles to fight yet, but we're going to look back on this tape. Like, I don't know when it'll be. But can you imagine, like, looking back, like, when is it we're going to look back on this and see that there's equality? See that everyone actually loves somebody. Like, we're talking about big, giant, bigger victory. Like, we're talking about a bigger victory.
Yes.
If this giant comes down.
Not if, when.
When, thank you for that. Yes, when this giant comes down, it indeed will be a victory like this world has not seen.
No, this is something the world's never seen before. Prepare yourself because we're doing something that's never been seen before.
Embrace for impact. Brace for impact and prepare for battle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Oh, I don't even want to end right now. This is crazy. But I just want to, Ethan, thank you so much for turning your trauma into something powerful that is going to be a part of making this giant fall,
having
this victory.
Thank you for allowing me to share here, and thanks for listening, everybody.
Absolutely.
Love you
And
guys.
find Ethan on Instagram, Facebook. I'll have all the information of how to connect with him because I know, please reach out to him. He'd love to answer or try to answer any of your questions. And if you want to be raw and real, Ethan definitely knows.
If you want to train, since gyms are opening.
That's right.
Do that too. It's not just about talking, although I do talking when I train, so.
Yes, if you want to talk about physical health and emotional health, Ethan is your man. And I am so excited that I get to share your story and be a part of this change together. Wow, thank you so much for being here. And all that's left to say is, not to us, O Lord, not to us, but to you and your name goes all the honor and glory for his unfailing love and faithfulness. Until next time, bye for now. And if you're not already following Nathan, I promise you that you will find. Stop that! Yeah, I knew it. I was waiting for that. I knew that was going to happen. They see the victories, and they see strong Nathan.
Ethan.